So on June 5th, a young boy in Tulsa County died of complications from his diabetes mellitus, which is the technical name for diabetes. He had type 1 diabetes, and his mother relied on prayer to heal her son when he went into a diabetic coma, and he died on June 5th. And a Tulsa County jury has imposed a 2.5-year sentence on her. She's been convicted of second-degree manslaughter in relation to the death of her ailing son. She acted with what they called culpable negligence towards her. He was 9.
Right. That's the charge I thought she would get. I didn't know you could get second-degree murder.
No, that is what she got. She got second-degree manslaughter.
No, I didn't know you could get that. I thought that they could only charge you for the negligence, essentially. I'm interested.
Right. So, as to the charge, it involves what they call culpable negligence, which is an omission to do something that a reasonably careful person would do, or failure to use what is considered to be ordinary care and caution in the performance of an act ordinarily exercised under similar circumstances. So the idea is giving him insulin or taking him to the hospital would have been considered ordinary and normal and reasonable to do.
Right.
And
now, was he already diagnosed with diabetes? Like, she was already aware that he had diabetes?
Yes.
And had just stopped giving him insulin, which caused the coma?
It sounds like she never gave him insulin. She is a member of the Church of the Firstborn, and which is a faith healing only congregation. So as far as I know here, she never gave him any kind of care. I don't know when he developed the diabetes, if it was a recent thing, or you know, some people can kind of get by with diabetes for a while and not necessarily suffer ill effects. I mean, a lot of times that's how people find out they have diabetes, is one day they're like, you know, ooh, I don't, something's up. You know, I'm peeing all the time and I'm losing weight and I don't feel good and something's up. And they go and they get this, oh, it turns out you've developed type 1 diabetes. So, you know, this was not something that he had due to weight or his diet or anything like that. He just, you know, got lucky and had it, basically. But
the coma part was
well, that's how it kills you eventually, you know.
Well, right, but the coma aspect, that's when she should at least be calling
right, that's
the
when she should have called the paramedics. But no, that's she wanted to just resort to prayer and spiritual healing and having people pray over her son and things like that.
Did she actually bring other people to pray over him?
That I don't know, but that's a common occurrence in
I'd like to know that too, because I wonder if that makes them kind of responsible.
I don't know, but the assistant district attorney in this case said that the thing that's important to know is that you don't have the right to let a child die. And while the ADA's office tried to make it clear that they were not putting the Church of the Firstborn on trial in this particular situation, the law that's the law stance, that you don't have the right to let a child die. The law basically doesn't care that
without some form of intervention.
Right. Well, no, not even some form of it. They're saying that spiritual intervention is not good enough in the eyes of the law.
I meant medical intervention, not spiritual.
Right. Well, you have to do what reasonable people would do.
Call somebody, take him somewhere,
seek help, go to a hospital. It's actually interesting to me that in the eyes of the law, spiritual healing doesn't work. It's not considered a reasonable action. It's not considered ordinary care.
Right.
And to the point, the law basically recognizes that it is the equivalent of doing nothing. And it is the equivalent of letting someone die. And so while our society tries to pride itself on
being a Christian nation?
No. Having these things be separate, we actually have like legal basis and a legal understanding that says, yeah, your Dungeons and Dragons powers don't work here. I find that really funny. Yeah, we actually say, you know what, not even good enough. Yeah. It's not, if you rely on that and it doesn't work, which, you know, never does.
That's
but if it
excellent.
doesn't work, the law actually says, like, no, not good enough. And I found that enlightening and something to sort of be proud of. That if, you know, if you get hit by a car and you're bleeding out on the road and you're like, call an ambulance, and I'm like, no, it's cool, I got this. I'm going to do the Mr. Miyagi thing from the Karate Kid, and then when you die, I'm going to get in trouble for not calling an ambulance. And I think that is amazing, because you can't just, like, come up with some bullshit and be like, oh, well, I really thought that my guardian angel was going to had my back on this one and was going to heal this person.
That's excellent.
That's I think that's good.
I've never thought about it in those terms, actually, so that is good to know that we kind of have that.
Yeah, and I know protection. In a lot of states, I've seen news stories recently where they've been knocking down a lot of people, when they go to court cases like this, they've been able to draw on, well, I have like a faith healing background, and that's my belief, and lawyers have been successfully challenging in more than one state now the idea that people can even use it as a defense. Like, that's being removed. Like, you can't even claim that anymore in a lot of states. So I think that we're progressing, but I mean, between like this and like the snake handling cases, you would think that when you try to use faith to heal people and it never heals them, you think that would affect people from like going to those kinds of churches.
Well, they don't ever hear about what happens after the fact. They see
but here's the news story of people dying.
Well, but I'm just saying the events that happen in like the healing tents and things like that. That you know, once you see it and once someone sees it and then tells other people about it, it all, especially if they're already religious, it all just keeps snowballing. Whereas they're never there the next day to find out that woman that came, you know, got out of the wheelchair for 5 minutes yesterday is still in the wheelchair today. You know, so. Yeah. I guarantee we get comments on that specifically where they're going to be like, well, my cousin, he walks just fine now, and you know, so we'll see.
And I've even seen the like the documentary footage of the James Randi Educational Foundation, of them interviewing people at these faith healing events where people get up out of the wheelchair and they're like, oh, I haven't walked in 10 years and stuff like that, and they like go and they talk to them afterwards, or they talk to them the next day and they're like, yeah, my hip is hurting again, or because they get like this emotional rush and they don't feel the pain for a little while, but that's the thing, you know, you get these people who are like, oh, my cancer was healed, and then a month later they die of their cancer, and it's like, that's strange. But you're right, in the moment when they're all there in the church, no one's thinking that, and they don't see this person again later, and they don't have this realization of, oh, they're totally still afflicted. But I would like to think that the more we see these kinds of stories, the more this kind of thing would be discounted. But, you know, the snake handling thing is dying out as a practice. Unfortunately, the faith healing doesn't really seem to be yet, but maybe we're getting there. Outcasts out.